Welcome to the Board of Education's FY22 Operating Budget Work Session. We initially held several budget work sessions in January and February to review the superintendent's recommended operating budget. The board tentatively adopted that budget on February 23rd. We are scheduled to adopt a final operating budget at our next business meeting on June 10th. Today, we will receive an update on the county's review of the budget, and we also will review the proposed FY22 funding for the 2.5-year plan. At this time, I'm going to ask my fellow board members to introduce themselves, starting with our Vice President, Ms. Silvestri.
Good morning, Carla Silvestri.
Ms. O'Neill.
Good morning, Pat O'Neill.
Dr. Daka.
Good morning, Judy Daka.
Ms. Smandrowski.
Good morning, Rebecca Smandrowski.
Ms. Evans.
Good morning. It's great to see everyone.
Ms. Harris.
Good morning, everyone.
Mr. Asante.
Good morning.
And I'm Brenda Wolf. As always, board members are free to ask questions or request clarification at any point during the presentation. I'll now turn it over to Dr. McKnight.
Hi. Good morning, board members. We appreciate everyone coming on today and giving us an opportunity to follow back up with our budget work session. We have had a number of things change since we last came together and talked about the budget in February. And so we are happy to be able to bring forth to you what some of those changes have been as a result of some significant changes that have occurred at the state and at the federal level. And I'll take us back to 6 months ago when we had our projected operating budget that was nearly $125 million in the red. I am happy to say that since then, we've had improved revenue that's been contributed to a number of different factors. One, we've had funding from the state as a relief from COVID, which we are very happy to be able to receive. We've also had local contributions that have been able to support, and those things have exceeded initial estimates, allowing us in Montgomery County Public Schools to be able to begin our fiscal year in 2022 in a much more favorable position than we thought we would have actually been in as a result of all the impact of COVID-19. So that is good news for us. And today, as we go through our presentation, we'll be able to share how we are specifically planning for the needs of the school system and taking into consideration all of the impact of COVID-19 and trying to proactively prepare for a successful and resourceful school year next year. So the budget tentatively adopted by the board on February 23rd has been fully supported also by the county executive as well as the county council. As you know, the county council did take a straw vote on last Thursday, May 20th, and that did indicate a unanimous support of the board's FY 2022 operating budget. The county council's final vote on 22 is taking place today, and so they are having that conversation as well. So today's budget presentation overall are going to highlight just a few things. One, changes in the FY 2022 budget in comparison to the 2021 budget. Secondly, you will see changes that have been tentatively adopted, which will include some shifts that are related to realignments that we've been able to make to improve productivity of how we do work in different offices, some of that related to reorganization. And then also you'll see a number of significant changes in terms of things that we are presenting and how we will use our grant funding. Much of that information will not be new to you because we've been discussing that grant funding and how that is prioritizing the 2.5-year plan. However, today we will give more specific details about exactly what those programs will be able to offer to our students and to our staff. And lastly, we'll also share the use of more specifically our ESSER funding and ESSER 3 as it related to COVID-19 grant supports that are available and expenses that we are anticipating as we prepare for the fall school year. So today I'm happy to bring forward Mr. Tom Clausen and Ms. Yvonne Alfonso Windsor. and they are going to begin the budget presentation. They have been walking side by side with Mr. Dan Morella all year on preparation for this budget, and I just want to thank them up front for their work and contribution because they have been extremely helpful as we've had to navigate and think about different ways that we want to plan for our operating budget as well as the grant money that we now have available to us as a school system. So at this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Clausing.
Good morning, President Wolf and members of the Board of Education. If we could bring up the slide deck, I would, and go to the next screen. So the FY 2022 budget that the board voted on back in February focuses on 4 priority areas of the school district. The budget maintains critical staffing levels for students returning to MCPS. It provides additional supports to combat learning loss and assist struggling learners. It provides mental health and social emotional supports for students and staff. And finally, it makes needed investments in technology to support continued virtual learning and innovation. Overall, as Dr. McKnight described the revenue that we reflected in the February budget, the budget shows an increase of $24.3 million or 0.9% over the current FY 2021 budget. If we go to the next slide. This is a slide we've shown you before, and as Dr. McKnight explained, when the Superintendent Smith was presenting his budget to the board, we anticipated decreases in the local contribution for MOE and from the state formulas due to the drop in student enrollment based on the September 30th, 2020 enrollment count. Then in January, the governor's budget came out, and despite the MOE law, required counties to provide more in local contribution in fiscal 2022 than in fiscal 2021. The governor's budget also included hold harmless grants to mitigate the impact of the enrollment loss on the state aid formulas. As a result, the budget you tentatively adopted included $50,000 more in local contribution than in fiscal 2021 and reflected increased state aid of $24 million based on the governor's budget. One side note is that MSDE is in the final stages of releasing updated state aid revenue to the LEAs based on the spring session of the General Assembly. At some point in time down the road, we will need to come to you with a supplemental appropriation to reflect the adjustments in those final state aid numbers. A question has come up: how does this FY22 budget respond to the expected increase in unaccompanied minors that the county has received or will receive? First, keep in mind that when we submitted our budget to the county on March 1, it was well before the issue of unaccompanied minors arose. A second point is we've dealt with an increase of unaccompanied minors in the past in our budgeted growth that we build into the budget each year. We have considerable growth built in for fiscal 2022, more than 4,300 students. So we've already built into the enrollment projection students expected to return to MCPS for the 2021-22 school year. And one final point to keep in mind is that we did not reduce positions in fiscal 2021 when our enrollment dropped because of the pandemic. Next slide, please. I won't go into great detail. I believe President Wolf, Dr. McKnight, you both touched on some of the key dates that we have had since February when the board adopted its budget, and the support that we've gotten from the county executive and Education and Culture Committee on the full request of the Board of Education. And it just so happens in about a half hour, the county council will convene to officially approve the fiscal 22 operating budget for the county and the 4 agencies that are comprised of that county budget. That's MCPS, obviously, the college, Montgomery County Government, and the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission. Next slide, please. So I'm going to transition now to Yvonne Alfonso Windsor, our supervisor of our budget unit, to talk to you about the changes that have occurred in the budget that you tentatively adopted in February.
Good morning, members of the board. I will go over the changes that have taken place since the budget was adopted in February. The following reorganizations are budget neutral and will be reflected in the final adopted budget. There is a realignment of positions to align the MCPS organizational structure to support the strategic priorities of the 2.5-year plan. Back in the fall, the reorganization within operations was approved, resulting in some changes in the Department of Facilities Management. Positions were realigned from the Division of Maintenance and Operations to the Division of Sustainability and Compliance and the Division of Construction and Design to support the work of those organizations. Additionally, starting in FY22, the Department of Transportation will assume responsibility of all fleet maintenance repairs, resulting in the realignment of vehicle repair operations and associated positions from the Division of Maintenance to Transportation. Next slide, please. There are a couple of significant realignments that we want to highlight. Within the K-12 budget, resources were realigned to fund 2 assistant principal positions for single administrator schools. The allocation criteria is based on enrollment changes from 2017 to 2022, school-based programs, including special education programs and farm rates. In the equity unit, resources from study circles were realigned to fund an equity training specialist to support the expanded work of the unit and the system in implementing and sustaining the outcomes of the anti-racism system-wide audit and the strategic plan. This realignment will enable the unit to accelerate support for supporting services to engage in professional learning in support of our core value of equity. In terms of grant changes and shifts, we had 2 pre-kindergarten teacher positions and 2.25 paraeducator positions that were shifted from the pre-kindergarten expansion grant to the local budget as a result of additional funding related to the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. Next slide, please. The following are potential cover-related grant funding supports through the ESSER 3 to address some of the effects of the pandemic. Funding of 8 administrative support positions to be allocated to the remaining 8 of the current 10 schools with single administrators. As shown earlier, 2 of the single administrator schools will be allocated assistant principal positions through their local budget. Additionally, MCPS and the Department of Health and Human Services are working on a partnership to provide additional social worker support to our students. Another potential grant-funded support are community resources for schools. At this time, we are working very closely with our county partners of the Department of Health and Human Services, Recreation, and Community Use of Public Facilities to provide opportunities for families to access wraparound programming that complements the MCPS programming and provides full-day opportunities for care. MCPS and the county are prioritizing Title I and other high-need areas for these programming options. Now we'll turn it over to Dr. McKnight.
All right, thank you so much, Yvonne and Tom. And at this point, we will pause, Ms. Wolf, and see if there's any discussion around the overall budget before we present the 2.5-year plan budget components.
Does anyone have any questions? Ms. Silvestri.
Dr. McKnight, so the question about unaccompanied minors, what I understood was that we are expecting 4,300 students to come back to the school system. And so our budget is kind of built to accommodate that 4,300. But that's the 4,300 that we lost during the pandemic. What if we get the expected 3,000 on top of that 4,300? Then what will we do?
Thank you, Ms. Silvestri. So every year when we think about enrollment growth and we plan for enrollment growth, we always plan for enrollment growth that exceeds what we should expect. What Montgomery County enrollment has taught us over the past few years is our enrollment growth actually supersedes in many ways what we oftentimes anticipate. So for our unaccompanied minors, we had an opportunity to learn back in 2017 significantly in terms of how we have to plan for that. Right now, the national data is trending towards our enrollment growing, but it also fluctuating over time. And so we're taking that into consideration as well. What we've planned for in enrollment growth is, yes, having all of our students back, and then additionally for that, planning for the unaccompanied minors. We also always keep within our schools office that reserve for those emergency situations, which is exactly what you have described. If we have students who come to us who far exceed what we've been anticipated, the good news is we have been able to anticipate the number of students that we are able to expect. We're still able to accommodate them based on those reserves. What we're doing this year is trying to be very proactive to avoid what we've had to do in 2017, which is not know the number of students that we should anticipate, and then having to figure out how we're realigning once the year has started to provide schools with that enrollment information after the school year started, and then having to then hire staff after the school year started, which becomes even more difficult. This budget is trying to be very proactive in considering getting all of our students back, and as well as that planning for our unaccompanied minors so that we can be able to allow the schools to have the staffing that they need to accommodate that.
So are you saying the 4,300 includes what you expect from the unaccompanied minors population?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying our enrollment growth has covered what we are expecting for our students who are coming back, but we're also in our enrollment growth, in our enrollment numbers, taking into consideration our accompanied minor students that we are expecting. We, and I'll ask Dr. Wilson or Yvonne to give more, if we have the more projections in terms of what our numbers are, but we took that into consideration in our enrollment growth. The numbers, Dr. Wilson, the numbers that we had for projection for our unaccompanied minors, can you remind me of what that number is?
The 4,300, I thought it was more in the neighborhood of 3,000. I know
Yes.
Ms. Rochelle Rubin is on the call here as well, and she's been participating in some of those plannings, but I think it was in the neighborhood of 3,000 students. I would just like to say just a little bit more, if I may, about the projected enrollment and the funding cycle. I think that might help clarify some things. I think the unaccompanied minors aside, as Dr. McKnight has pointed out, we have had years where we have had a projected enrollment. The budget's been based on that, and we've gotten a surprise, that we've had lots of students come into the system. And the way that Maryland funds is always a year behind. So like all districts, we work the best we can to make accurate projections. And as Dr. McKnight pointed out, all districts have experienced a bit of volatility in their enrollments, and we've never been in this space before. So we're using those budget projections. They may or may not be accurate. We have a great record with our budget projections in normal times, but we've never come off of a pandemic. So in Maryland, always funds a year later. So even if we got 2,000 more students than were projected, we really don't see the money for those students until 1 year later, because we're always lagging. But I do believe, as Dr. McKnight said, that the collaboration with the county on the undocumented minors, we are planning for the services that are necessary for those students as we begin to know more about what they need.
Could you speak to how the ESOL staffing is set up to receive them?
At this point in time, I'm going to rely on Yvonne. I think we had, or Nikki Hazel. There was a number, I think we have more ESOL staff in our budget this year. Nikki?
Yes, good morning. When we budgeted for ESOL, we used numbers from the year before the pandemic. And so that allowed schools to have some space to receive additional students without starting the year needing to ask for more staffing. So we do feel that when schools get started at the beginning of the school year, they will have appropriate staffing, but we will monitor it. As more students come in, we will monitor to see if we need to support schools more with either ESOL teachers or counselors.
And are there any additional PCC positions for schools that get big METS populations?
Ms. Rubin, do you want to respond to that?
Sure. Good morning, board members. So just a few things I would like to add that I think will be additive to what Dr. McKnight and others have already shared. Our PPW and PCC staffing, we did put in our budget in SFSE for that, and specifically to our work around enrollment and unaccompanied minors. Additionally, there is a steering committee that comprises MCPS as well as other agencies that was pulled together by County Council that I currently am on with others in MCPS, and we have an internal work group. We've been told that steering committee, we are putting forward recommendations, as you may have heard. Leading it from the DHHS is Dr. Navarro and Gillian Hubner from that side. We are in the process of putting together a projection as well as a plan to identify how we support the unaccompanied minors from a Montgomery County agency perspective, and a budgetary component that will allow County Council to perhaps provide MCPS with supplemental funding that will help to support that work. And so we anticipate having that by the end of June, and Council is awaiting that work from us. Our internal work group also is working on the staffing components, as you heard Ms. Hazel speak to the ESOL staffing components, and then the supports that we'll provide for wraparound services through our PCCs.
And Dr. McKnight, if I may, I also wanted to add that school support and improvement has, over the last, the last year, increased the frequency of the staffing monitoring and their engagement with schools, and that will continue. We used to have more of a quarterly cycle and then needs addressed as principals would raise them, but we're having more frequent engagement with the schools, and that will need to continue as we begin to level out our enrollment. And so as Ms. Hazel said and Ms. Rubin said, that monitoring will be critically important going forward because of the, again, coming off the pandemic and understanding how enrollments will flow.
And there's one other point I wanted to make, and thank you all for addressing those questions. So Ms. Silvestri, this year we had a number of unaccompanied minors who came into Montgomery County in 2017. And as I mentioned, we learned a lot from that. We learned a number of things. One, we learned in what communities did many of those students enroll into our schools. We were able to learn and figure out what resources we needed available at the schools outside of just the teaching resources, but the additional resources to make sure those students were able to continue and maintain and be vigilant in our schools to be able to receive an education. And so while we have projected numbers that we have planned for within our budget, we don't know what this is going to look like on top of COVID-19. we had accompanied minors coming to us into 2017 under a normal circumstance, I guess I would say, a more normal circumstance. This year, we had that happening on top of a pandemic. And although we haven't gotten into the specifics of our grant funding at ESSER 3, I do want to point out one of the ways that the grant funding will continue to support us is because it calls on us to address any impact of COVID-19. And so even if there is a situation or a case in which we have projected a certain number and we have 1,500 more students come in beyond what we've projected for, the good news is that we have grant funding and ESSER funding to be able to support that. Because of course, this could be a result of increased enrollment as a result of the pandemic. And so that allows us some safe spaces that we haven't had in the past or wasn't present in 2017 that will help us mitigate that area of vulnerability for us this year as a school system.
Thank you for all that information. It's encouraging. I just want to remind us that this population, only 55% of them graduate from our school system. And so how they get their start here is critically important so that we can put them on the right path and they stay with us, and hopefully that 55% graduation rate improves. Thank you.
Ms. O'Neill.
So Ms. Alfonso Windsor touched on partnering with DHHS and rec department to provide wraparound services. You know, given that we're about 5 weeks out, I assume she was talking about specifically the summer programming. I mean, you know, we and the board has asked questions about this at previous sessions, but, you know, parents are enrolling in summer programming. They really need to know, you know, what are the opportunities? And, you know, we did shift funding throughout the year to support the equity hubs. Are we looking at providing any funding from MCPS? And where are we in letting parents know about what's available out there? Because, you know, it's the deadline is coming up fast.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Ms. O'Neill. So actually to address this in two parts, and then I'll have S.E. McGuire talk more specifically about the summer, and then Derek Turner talk more about the planning that we've been starting since this winter for the fall. But I'll first begin by saying, so we have invested in a number of partnerships within our school system that have been, quite frankly, very meaningful to our students and families. And I'll call out a few examples. Kid Museum, you know, one, but there are many others. Equity Hubs also presented a very significant support to us during the pandemic as families were looking for childcare. Our plan is to, and we will be using our ESSER funding to do this, to be able to provide the opportunity for families to be able to choose for their out of school time or their support to the summer experiences, for them to be able to select and figure out which of these components actually work best for their family or for their child. So that is what we are going to be utilizing much of our ESSER funding for that purpose as well, because we recognize that we have so many partnerships, and now as we have restrictions lifting, Parks and Rec is another one. I called out Kid Museum, but there are a number of them in which we are establishing these partnerships with to be able to extend on that continues to include the equity hubs, but go beyond that. So Ms. McGuire, any specifics that you want to add on to that as it relates to summer, and Mr. Turner fall, you can do so at this time.
Terrific. Thank you. We have had some very productive and close working partnerships with our county partners, primarily working with the Department of Health and Human Services, of course, also the Department of Recreation, and then Community Use of Public Facilities, as those are really the entities that typically help provide this kind of patchwork that often makes up summer. And what we are working on now is really prioritizing those services that provide the most access for families, which typically is through our recreation department and also Health and Human Services, we're really working to have those identified to strengthen that wraparound component at our Title I schools, other areas where we know that access to programming is critically important. And so we are, again, working to really strengthen that network in those schools. At the same time, working with community use of public facilities to have, again, sort of what often makes up that summer tapestry of programming available to the maximum extent that space is allowed or allowable, given the summer programming that we have in our schools. So families will also be finding some of the things that they often look to over the summer to be able to access as well. So we're really sort of looking at it from both of those lenses, but having a very focused approach on supporting those impacted areas where families may really want that additional access to patch together a full day around the MCPS programming. So we have a large number of schools, and the communication aspect really is rolling out. In part, as I know everyone knows, this continues to evolve as the agencies are able to identify staffing and programs and put those pieces together. So we're also working with our principals and, of course, with Ms. Rubin's team and all of the communication strengths that are there to really reach out to families and ensure that they're aware of the opportunities that can put that together for them. So that's our overall approach to the summer so far.
And I'll just transition that to the fall, building on those same partnerships and relationships. We recognize that in the past, there have been many non-instructional days where students are left without a plan for what to do. Parents are going to work and they have to juggle their schedules to make this work. So we want to help fill those opportunities, and we have 16 non-instructional days for the coming school year. And so what we want to do is have partners available to support our students and our families during those 16 non-instructional days while our teachers are engaged in professional learning or we're closed for another reason. We want to make sure those opportunities are available through all of our partners that we have established and potentially new partners to really build a net of support for our students, whether it's a school day or not a school day.
I have a follow-up question to that, if I may. For the last two board meetings, we have talked about this sort of tapestry of options, as you say, but the fact of the matter is summer school is fast approaching and parents need to make some decisions. So I'm trying to figure out how this is going to work for them, because I know as a grandmother, my son has had to already make plans because he has to work. So when do you expect to actually be able to tie something down and give some concrete advice? Because otherwise, they're not going to be able to send their kids to summer school. And these are some of our most impacted kids that need this.
So a couple of things are coming together, and as you're highlighting, absolutely the timing is a challenge this year because again, just the nature of how programs are being identified. But in many of the schools, the programs and registration have already begun. So where recreation has been able to identify, we're ready to go here, that is starting. So it is on a rolling basis. It's not all going to be at once. And so I do, that I think will be helpful, at least in some of the areas where we're able to pin that down. We are also matching programs with the enrollment as it comes in through MCPS enrollment. So that's part of it, is they are evolving together. In addition, we are working very closely again with all of those county partners to map the programming that is available in the schools and have a place for parents to be able to access and see everything in one place. So we've been mapping that, and it is again going to be able to be identified by school. That will be again, we're rolling that out as we have it. I believe in total, we're hoping that will be available next week. It is in part contingent again on those programs from Recreation, Health and Human Services also being staffed and ready to go. So a lot of these things are coming together in the schools together as a package as they go. But we will have that comprehensive look for families. And in many schools, that information has been shared.
Can we get a list of schools that information has been shared with already? And I just want to point out again that time is of the essence for many of our parents, so that if the options are not going to be available, I think we, in all fairness, should let them know as soon as possible. Ms. Harris.
Yeah, thank you. I want to circle back to some of Ms. Silvestri's questions about the work we're doing around being prepared for our unaccompanied arrivals. I've been I know that the county has hired 2 people really well known to us to coordinate the countywide work, Gillian Hubner and Maria Navarro, and I've been following their work sessions and things like that. And I noticed that, and we may be covering this early in a little bit when it comes to sort of some of the ways that we are reorganizing and consolidating some areas of the work. So just tell me if that's true. But one of the things that they've identified is the fact that we have METS sites scattered at 26 different schools. And the services and things that are available at each of those schools is not the same. So some have linkages sites, some don't. And we don't, as a school system, have one person who's charged with mapping those services and monitoring those sites and making sure that we are providing a solid set of services and also following our students as they progress. And one of the things that I'm learning as I follow the work the county's doing is that best practices from around the country are to have more services concentrated at fewer sites. So true newcomer programs or welcome schools, that kind of thing. So are we looking in this realignment and in our operating budget priorities and funding to create sort of more, fewer sites where there are truly well monitored, well provided, and well coordinated services to all of those students who are coming to us with that interrupted or minimal prior educational opportunity. So as Ms. Silvestri noted, we can truly do everything we can to get more of those students across that final graduation finish line. And some of that, I think, also relates to how well we are coordinating the transition for some of those students into the CREA program. Because I know from yesterday being at Edison and talking to the CREA staff, there have been some challenges there.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Harris. Very good question. And actually, when Ms. Silvestri brought that question up, one of the things that I talked about is what we learned from 2017 was being able to think about what the investments are far beyond the classroom teachers and the numbers to accommodate those students. And this actually gets at the very heart of what you're saying. Looking at where we have our linkages sites, thinking about how we are planning for the coordination of services for those students are a big part of that. That absolutely is one of our priorities that we have put into the budget in terms of realignment for what we need to coordinate that services. We have not realigned to coordinate let's say a position to coordinate it, but I think that's a great point and something that we absolutely will look at. But in terms of the funding to make sure that we have those other supports in place and that we are able to make investments to support the services beyond just what we provide in the classroom for those students is key. If there's anything that I'm missing that you'd like to add to that, Ms. Rubin or Dr. Wilson or Ms. Hazel.
Sure, Dr. McKnight, just to build on what you've already stated, we actually also have an internal work group around the METS programming. We just had our meeting last week, and some of our principals who are normally most highly impacted are actually on that work group. Some of the services we believe may be in service or same service, as we think about processes and things that we have in place that may no longer be meeting the need, and some of the principals helping us to identify the diagnostic, to your point about taking a look across the nation at what other places are using as far as some of those diagnostic tools for our students in the METS program and how we can maybe shore up our work there. So that is work that is well underway. And as Dr. McKnight stated, we haven't gotten to the place where we've identified the need for one individual to oversee that work, but that certainly can be a consideration.
So are we considering a concentration, true sort of newcomer or welcome sites so that we have fewer schools with the METS program so that we are, concentrating more of the resources in one place so they aren't so sort of sprinkled across the system? possibly allowing us to do more with less.
So I know in our steering committee, and then I see Ms. Hazel is on and she can jump right in because she's doing tremendous work with the METS programming component in particular. In our steering committee, we have discussed that option. Timeliness is one factor. We're up against a quick timetable and trying to navigate what would be a Montgomery County site for utilization is something that came up, but steering committee members felt like there wasn't enough time to get that in place. So what we're currently looking at is how do we shore up through the enrollment process and then what our work looks like throughout the year, to Ms. Silvestri's earlier point, not only from our elementary, but all the way to our high school programming, because we know the impact of graduation there. I think for future years, that concept is on the table for the steering committee as we look to first what we need to do, the urgency of now, and then what we need to do for impending years. Ms. Hazel.
Thank you. And I will just add, I think that we need to consider different options for different levels. As Dr. McKnight mentioned, in 2017, we had unaccompanied minors come to MCPS. I think it was closer to 400, so a much smaller number than we are expecting this time. And as a result of that, we didn't actually have enough space to put those students in MET sites, and so they had to go to their home schools. And we've been following those students and monitoring them, and they actually outperformed academically the students that were in the MET sites. And so we recognize that this is bigger than just academics. We need to ensure that we are monitoring the social emotional needs as well. But we are considering, particularly for our younger students, whether or not their home schools are more appropriate and how we can adjust the central services supports to those schools in a different way. So part of the work group is considering how we support schools differently, keeping in mind both academic and social emotional. We also recognize as students get older, they may need a different type of service. And so we are, as a part of that work group, really thinking about how we can meet the needs of students at different levels. So all of this is a part of what we're considering at this time, and we hope to be able to share more with you in the upcoming weeks.
Ms. Hazel, also one last question. So I'm not sure about MCPS and our sort of process around exit interviews with people who leave us, but is your office going to be talking to, we are losing some really powerhouse coordinators in our CREA program, and is your office going to be reaching out to those folks to see if there are lessons learned there that perhaps could inform the way that we are supporting the work that they're trying to do on the ground centrally?
Yes, absolutely. We will definitely be meeting with individuals to get that feedback.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Ms. Silvestri.
This is a follow-up to Mrs. O'Neill's question, and this is a yes or no question. I appreciate what you're doing, Ms. McGuire, with the rec department and the county, but I think Mrs. O'Neill's question is, are we going to fund equity hubs for the summer? Yes or no?
And so I know you want a yes or no. I don't want to speak to the funding. I can let someone else do that, but I do just want to emphasize that us did work with the childcare providers that typically access our spaces through COPF. So it is part of that process. And if there are funds to support access for families, that's the funding question. But the process would go through the providers through community use as we're working with them.
Ms. Silvestri,
Sorry, you cut off at the beginning, but go ahead, Ms.
I just wanted to jump in there, and Essie, I'm sorry, you did freeze for just a second. In terms of funding equity hubs, we have always been in partnership with the county in being able to fund equity hubs. We've never done that independently as a school system. So we absolutely had funds set aside to be able to support equity hubs during the summer. But that, again, is in consideration of us reserving funds that have been similar to what we've been able to do in the past, along with county government agencies. So they are still working on that. And so we will continue to coordinate that with them. We do have funds set aside, but when you say fund equity hubs, we've never done that as a school system independently. And I just wanted to establish that.
So you do have funds reserved should it work out with the county?
Correct.
Thank you.
Dr. McKnight, I think we've reached the end of our questions and you can move on.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Wolf. We will actually now then transition to much of what we've been talking about, which is our 2.5-year plan. If we can put the presentation back up, please, and move to slide number 9. All right, there we go. And so this slide, as it's coming up, I'm sure will be the graphic that you saw on Tuesday, as we always like to use this just to frame this discussion. It's on its way. All right, I'll go ahead and start. And then we can just pick up, or I'll tell you to envision the graphic. It's the same graphic that we shared on Tuesday night, which outlines the priorities of our 2.5-year plan. On Tuesday at the board, I shared with you that for the FY22 budget, we were putting a full down payment of $30 million in our budget for the 2.5-year plan, designating that full $30 million to those areas that we have been discussing for the past few months. So as a reminder, I'll just briefly share with you what those areas are, and specifically since we don't have the graphic up there, the first being the priority of mitigating learning disruption across schools, the second being focused on our most poverty impacted school, there we go. The third being focused on well-being support, and the fourth, digital learning and support. The one area I will continue to point out, and I asked the budget team to highlight this in yellow, is this is from moving from thinking about the number of students to the level of need among our students. I will continue to emphasize that because every realignment, every priority we've put into the operating budget, every priority that we've put into the grant funding have been around us addressing the level of need that we are aware of that will exist for our students as a result of COVID-19. And so we have had those 4 project teams work together since the winter to really get together and talk about what the supports would look like for our students and their needs. And the examples of what we shared on Tuesday night were high-level examples of what we were planning to implement in those 4 areas of buckets this summer as an immediate need, and then definitely planning for the fall. This is all encased around our theme of what we discussed on Tuesday evening, but I will reiterate again, these priorities need, this $30 million is a down payment around all of the things that we need to do to bring our students back for in-person experiences in the fall, 5 days a week with a teacher in the classroom every day. And the virtual academy, again, as we discussed, are for those students who are in extenuating circumstances who will go through an application process and be approved according to those circumstances. So the budget team has assigned dollars to each of these areas, which we will share with you today. And Mr. Clausen and Ms. Alfonso Windsor will continue with the presentation now. And along with them, we are going to ask the co-leads of each of these 4 areas who've led the work along with community stakeholders and our associations to discuss what these priorities are. So they will be joining us, and the co-leads that will be represented here today that have been a part of the work that these teams have started and will continue to do as they convene over the summer and then continuing into the fall. But the MCPS co-leads will be Ms. Hazel, Dr. Nixon, Ms. Rubin, and Mr. Pete Chevanini. So they'll be able to address any questions that we have specifically about the more detailed plans that we'll share with you around our investments and how we're investing these dollars for our students this summer and in the fall. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Dr. McKnight. So this past Tuesday, as Dr. McKnight mentioned, you were briefed on the priorities of the plan that were developed by the 4 work groups that comprised of MCPS school and central office staff, our associations, students, and the communities. So the next several slides will give you the details of those priorities from a budget standpoint. So when we were allocating out the $30 million to the 4 components of the 2.5-year plan, some of those allocations may appear small to some. It is important to keep in mind, as Dr. McKnight said, that this is a down payment. It's a start. It's a beginning salvo to the supports being provided or that are needed by students and staff in the overall 2.5-year plan. So in allocating the $30 million, $10.8 million is allocated to mitigating learning disruption across schools, $9.5 million for focus on the most poverty impacted schools, $6.2 million for well-being support, and finally $3.5 million is a down payment on digital learning and support. Next slide, please. So here's the first, so here's just a few things to keep in mind about that $30 million plan. It is primarily funded from the one-time continuity of learning plan funding that was included in the fiscal 2021 budget and the additional state aid that we expect to get in 2022. We've talked about it being a down payment, but keep in mind that this plan will be augmented by funding that MCPS has already received or we will receive from federal ESSER funding. And these initial budgets from the 4 teams reflect the needs of our students outlined so far and are identified in the summer and fall priorities reflected in the plan. Next slide, please. So here is the first of the 4 components, mitigating learning disruption across schools. We plan to use the $10.8 million for student tutoring during and outside the school day during the summer and fall to be provided by MCPS staff with additional support by contractors. Next slide, please. So $9.5 million for the focus on the most poverty impacted schools. We are adding parent liaisons, parent community coordinators, school psychologists, ESOL transition counselors, and trauma-informed therapists at schools with the necessary skills to support families. In addition, we're expanding outreach strategies on how to better engage parents and families to meet specific needs of their school. And last, we are providing funding for attracting and retaining staff who are skilled, knowledgeable, and dedicated to serving the unique needs of students and schools impacted by poverty. So that's the second of the 4 components. The third component, more on that, next slide, please. More on this second component. This funding aligns mental health resources to the schools with greatest needs. And it's based not on enrollment, but on needs. That's the important point there. The funding will support ongoing and sustained professional learning for all staff to develop and refine knowledge and capacity for leading most poverty impacted schools and serving the specific needs of those schools. That's important. And last, the funding will expand access and staff to support early childhood education to communities with highest at-risk students. It will be a mixed delivery system with our current structures along with public and private partnerships. So if we go to the next slide, please. The third component, well-being and support, is allocated $6.2 million to begin that work. To meet the most complex emotional needs of our students, we're adding counselors at elementary and secondary schools that are based on needs-driven requirements, not strictly on enrollment. Wellness coordinators and wellness coaches will be added to support mental health and wellness. We'll add psychologists at both elementary and secondary schools. We will add funding for curriculum and materials for social emotional learning. We are including contractual services to provide mental health and wellness services. And finally, there's funding for stipends for school-based staff to lead and promote mental health and wellness in their schools. Next slide, please. So the last of the 4 components of the 2.5-year plan is digital learning and support strategy, where we've allocated $3.5 million of the $30 million. Given the cost of implementing the virtual academy district-wide, it's clear that this allocation is one of those examples of a down payment on the cost of the virtual academy and represents our estimate of the resources needed for implementing the virtual academy at the high school level. Additional resources from federal funding are needed for the other levels for the virtual academy. With this funding, it will provide for the administration and support staffing of the virtual academy, but most importantly, providing additional classroom teachers and paraeducators that are needed for the virtual academy, as well as funding for textbooks, instructional materials, and subscriptions. So that's an overall explanation of our allocation of the $30 million. Next slide, please. And I turn it now over or back to Dr. McKnight.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Clausing. And so those were the details that we wanted to share with you in terms of how we are making those investments for those areas in the 2.5-year plan. Again, I said that we have all of our co-leads who worked alongside our community partners and students and associations and others in developing these initial priorities for the summer and the fall. So we can pause now. If you have any questions, I'll ask the co-leads to come on and we can address any questions you may have about those specific areas.
I'm going to ask at this time that everybody ask 2 questions and we'll go around. And I'm going to start this time. I have a question as to how tutoring availability is being communicated to our constituents. And what does that look like when you say it's going to be during the day?
Yes, so currently tutoring is not during the day. In our current program, tutoring is either before or after school. As we've been doing more research around how we mitigate learning during the pandemic, the research is saying that the most effective way to address student needs is through in-person tutoring, or it could be virtual, but during the school day. And so we are looking to see if there are ways that we can provide tutoring during the day. Actually met with middle school principals yesterday to talk about how we might be able to accomplish that. And so there may be a period of time during a school day at the secondary level where students may be able to receive support. We also, at the elementary school, I think there's a little bit more flexibility with the schedule. We will be using our MCPS teachers to provide tutoring. That would have to be either before or after school. But we also have a significant interest from our community members to do tutoring as well. And so if we work with community members, we would train them and they would be able to provide some of that tutoring during the school day. And we would have to coordinate that with the school leaders in the building. So that is another option. And then as we shared, part of the funding will be to find an external contractor that we can use to support tutoring as well. So we may be able to have students during a portion of their day. It could be if you take a reading block, for example, it may be a part of the small group time or an independent work time that a student may be pulled to either work with an individual or work with some type of online system. So we're exploring a lot of different options for how to make it work before, during, or after school.
But you didn't indicate how it was being communicated.
Oh, I apologize.
To our constituents.
I apologize. Yeah, so currently our schools received a certain amount of staffing based on the number of students in their school and the type of school. So if it was a Title I school or a focus school or a middle school, they received, maybe it was 2 teachers or 5 teachers. And so they identified students that they wanted to invite to be a part of the tutoring. So that's how it initially began. There were some schools that requested more staffing because there was a greater interest as parents began to hear about it. We also had the Tutor Me program. That was a program that was an online virtual program that we sent information in collaboration with the communications team, shared information on our website, and then schools pushed out information about the Tutor Me program. And so families were able to go on and register independent of the school. So we are looking to be able to do something similar to that as well. We want to be able to have a lot of options for how students can get tutoring services. But we will, as we work on the RFP, we will be pushing out opportunities for families to come online and register for their students to be a part of that tutoring program.
And thank you for that. And my second question is, counselors, you indicated that placement would be needs driven, but for psychologists, how are you determining where the placement is needed?
So good morning again. For our school psychologist, as you know, we have them serving 2 or 3 schools. We use the determination of need, taking a look at a variety of metrics, including farms rate, what's happening at the school, requests from the schools, discussions with the school principals to identify where the psychologists ultimately go. And for the increased psychologists that we have, we will be looking at now as part of our Be Well 365 work and our behavioral health management plan. We are also taking into consideration some of the work that we've done around disproportionate suspensions and taking a look at that. And certainly with our collaboration with the special education department, trying to identify how we work based on those needs.
Thank you. I think I saw, Ms. O'Neill, did I see your hand next, Sandra?
So I have 2 questions, but I'll start with one. The first one, looking at the fall and realizing that, one, that we will all be in person 5 days a week, and 2, given that elementary students, it's highly unlikely that there will be a vaccine approved for them until next winter. I know that in our non-Title I schools, Title I in the earliest grades, we have reduced class size, and there are, some smaller classes in the upper grades. But when I'm looking at class sizes like in 4th and 5th grade, and you just put so many bodies in a room, like, approaching 30 in some 5th grade classes, the need for more spacing among kids, and as well as, in terms of thinking about mitigating of learning loss, everybody has lost some things. There really is an urgency to focus on, all kids, especially our elementary children who've lost a tremendous amount. It means significantly more or exponentially more in those early grades. Are we thinking at all about the need for more classroom teachers in the elementary level? And also, I know that, the summer is when we remove portables and move them to schools that might, have rising enrollment. I feel like we shouldn't be removing portables from campuses unless it's absolutely needed, because I think we just need, especially at elementary for the fall, we need to make sure we have adequate teachers, not paraeducators, not monitors, and also space to move children, spread them out. That's my question.
So in terms of, I'll start, Ms. Wolf, and then Ms. McGuire, you can pick it up. I did want to say you are absolutely right. Having classroom teachers has to be the priority, and is, and we actually planned for that, in knowing that's the biggest part of how we're going to mitigate learning disruption, which is to stand up a well planned out in-person experience for our students when they come back into the fall. So we've been planning for that. And I mean, absolutely, that's why our recruitment has been one. That's a whole nother piece we will come back and continue to talk about with the board. But we've been very thoughtful about how we have to approach recruitment, even in a different way, to make sure we continue to stand up, having the teachers that we need in the classrooms available to our students. While our enrollment has decreased this year, that was also one of the main reasons that we said that we would not, or it would be a risk for us to not keep all of our staffing, because we have staffing now prepared for the 165,000 students that we were serving before. And that was a big reason in terms of why we did not change any of our staffing numbers, although our enrollment numbers dropped, because we want to be able to have more and the availability of teachers to support that model that we stand up in the fall. So that's definitely a big priority that we have been planning for, and taking into account our retirements and those who, have had to leave the profession during the year. Our recruitment has been one that I will say has been dual. Yes, we had to hire for the monitors and those other positions that were necessary during the pandemic, but the focus has at the same time then, how are we planning for all of the resources that we need for the fall? Ms. McGuire, if you want to speak to the spaces within the school, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. And yes, I do want to share that in general, we will have a net increase of relocatables this year. So for example, to your point, Mrs. O'Neill, typically if you dial back several years, we were often trying to reduce those relocatables and keep a close eye on how the enrollment was changing. While we're still doing that, we want to be very conservative and not assume that any reductions in schools are lasting. And certainly we don't want to make any space reductions right now that that again could have a long-term negative impact. So in general, with our approach to relocatables this year, we're being very conservative to err on the side of having more spaces available at schools to the extent possible when we can do that. So what we're relocating are primarily relocatables from, say, a construction site to other schools where there are areas of need. And in general, again, we always have summer movement of portables. That's when we can take care of a lot of our needs. But overall, our approach is exactly what you're highlighting, which is to be sure that we've got a little bit of extra elbow room if we can possibly create it, because we know that is very frequently in short supply. And we do anticipate students coming back to our schools for all the reasons that have been elevated here today. Certainly our ability to create new classrooms within a school space is limited, but we are absolutely committed to providing space for students who want to come back. We do feel that the guidance of 3-foot distancing is actually not a capacity limitation, certainly not to the degree that 6 feet has been, but we do feel that it is much more workable and much closer to a typical personal space kind of experience. And we'll certainly work with classes and schools that have more unusual or more crowded conditions. We'll be working those through, but we anticipate being able to, again, serve our students in person. And to your point about portables, we'll have those available to the maximum extent that we can.
And I had one final question. Mr. Clausing said that $3.5 million was a down payment on the virtual, but this was really only the funding for high school level. Did I hear that correctly? You know, I guess I was surprised. I mean, it just, you know, I realize, you know, we've always had home and hospital teaching and, you know, we are committed to it. I think that it serves a purpose, but still, you know, 3.5 million plus more would also pay for a lot more teachers, psychologists, counselors across the district.
I'm going to ask Mr. Turner or Mr. Chevanita to actually emphasize that part a little bit, because I know that came up in the presentation, and we shared that the Virtual Academy is one that supports K through 12. So do you want to address that?
I'm happy to go first, and then I'll turn it over to my colleagues. So when we think about this, and it's $3.5 million, and it sounds like a lot of money, but essentially we're opening up a new school that would cost many more millions of dollars to open up a whole new school to serve students in a new medium and mechanism. And so this is paying for teachers and staff and counselors to serve these students who will be learning through a different medium than before. And so this money really is paying for exactly what you've identified, Ms. O'Neill. It's paying for teachers to serve those students. It's paying for the counselors and the administrators to execute this program. And right now we're estimating that we'll have we've budgeted for around 3,000 students across the K through 12, and are really thinking about how we serve these students through with the proper technology, the proper curriculum and resources, the teaching needs for those students, and the proper class ratio. So all those things go together, which lead to these costs for the high school level and beyond that will be supported through the federal funding.
Yes. Also the services like paraprofessionals, as well as psychologists, et cetera. So that's the big budget picture of all those pieces.
Does anyone else have any questions? Ms. Harris.
Thank you. So I think the first two questions I'll ask, and one of them I think follows right along to what Ms. O'Neill was just saying with the presentation, and we're talking about the fact that the 2.5-year plan is a lot of that is coming from sort of one-time expenditures and supported by some of the COVID relief and ESSER funding. So as we are rolling this out and coming up with strategy, are we assuming that the funding for the 2.5-year plan, the structures, the functions, the positions that are part of that work will either cease to be needed at the end of the 2.5-year plan, or that they will be that we will have built the operating structure around them that we can continue to support them with other funding? Because as we've all talked about many times in the past, the ESSER funding, the COVID relief funding, all of that is going away in September of 23.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Harris, for that question. And the good news in that is we have 2.5-year plan for the funding. It's not like 1 year, which is oftentimes the reason for our grant. And when you really think about it, any big change or impact, as research constantly tells us, it takes about 3 years to learn about the impact and exactly what it is that you need to do. So that's another piece of good news that I would say in terms of why we have this funding. But you are absolutely correct. Much of what we are planning now are for the immediate needs, and we actually won't know the long-term needs in terms of what we'll need to keep and what we'll need to adjust and what we may need to move onto our operating budget until we actually figure out what is the fidelity and what most importantly has been the impact on our students as a result of these programs. And let's use Virtual Academy for an example. The other day we talked about the Virtual Academy, and I think someone posed a question. It was a discussion of, yes, we ultimately want those students who have extenuating circumstances to be able to transition into in-person if that is appropriate for them. But we also know that there will be extenuating circumstances that always exist because life happens, and we need to be able to be aware of what those circumstances are, especially if in any way they cause our students to not be successful, to not be able to graduate, or not be able to access the services that they need in the school to help them be successful. And so we take all of that into consideration, because I think what the conversation we're going to be having within the next 2 years will be, this is what we've learned. This is what we will prioritize and know has had a great impact on our schools and our students and the services that they get. And this is now what we know we will need to prioritize in our operating budget. And the reason we'll be able to answer that question and be able to answer it with fidelity is because a big component of what we will do, must do, is monitor the impact of all of these things we're talking about in this 2.5-year plan. We're going to have to come up with the measures and say the tutoring that we're putting in place that students are doing independently or in their reading group in the classroom, is that making a difference academically for that student or not? Same thing for what we're learning about in terms of the investments in social emotional services. We may say initially the first year we may think about many of those services and what they look like in a model that is implemented within a school. But then we also may say, we may need mobile services, that will provide more flexibility. And so as we flush this out, right now we're taking advantage of the fact that we know we can anticipate what many of the needs will be as a result of COVID, but there's some that we don't know and won't know until our students return into in-person learning 5 days a week with the teacher in the classroom starting next year. And as we go through that process, we will continue to discover what's most meaningful that we want to say in Montgomery County Public Schools for our students are most critical for us to keep that's making progress. And then what's not, what actually took care of a need that was a direct result of COVID that does not represent as significant a need, in a year or two from now.
Thank you. And then I guess the kind of a follow-up to that is, so when we move, so I really appreciate the presentation talking about the fact that we're looking at services in schools based not on enrollment, but on need, which I think we all agree is incredibly important. And how, as we move forward, and there are a lot of moving pieces here, because as we're transitioning from the old Thornton funding formula into the blueprint, but a lot of that funding is still per pupil based. So when we're looking to align the state education money that we receive, which is per pupil based, making sure that we are able to continue to support the services in schools that, as you're saying, are based on need, not on enrollment. And I know there, some of the pieces of Blueprint are very specifically aligned to support certain student populations. But are we, as we're moving into this 2.5-year strategic plan, thinking through it, starting already to think about once this initial boost of money goes away, and we're reliant then on Blueprint funding, we're continuing to be able to support the programs that are in our schools based on need, not enrollment.
That's right. That's right. You're absolutely right, Ms. Harris. And that reconciliation that you're talking about in terms of the per pupil funding that we get, which is our state formula, we know that will be taken into consideration with a lot of traditional factors that have always been contributed to how that funding need is met. That's why it's really important for us to really continue to look at much of what we talked about is, programming, people resource, instructional resources, to look at those things to really figure out the validity of them or not. And I would just continue to hone in on the accountability part of all of the things that we are putting in place for the 2.5-year plan are just critical, because we should be able to answer the question and answer that question clearly. And while it all may be important right now as we're coming out of the pandemic, we'll be in a different situation a year from now, and then another half year from that, we would have recovered, maybe this much, hoping to ultimately get, past total recovery. And this presentation is a part of the budget, but this is a conversation that we will have to continue to have together and with the public throughout the year, because as we're talking about the impact of all of these programs, that accountability piece of what's happening as a result of it will need to be a part of the conversation so that we are able to answer that question as we go along. What is the impact? And is it significant? And if it is, how do we want to continue to keep that in place or make adjustments if not? But thank you for raising that, Ms. Harris. I mean, a very important point that I think just continues to elevate the importance of accountability in all of these plans.
Thank you. And I'll ask my last two questions on that next round.
Well, I'm not seeing any other hands, am I? Oh, hold on. Yes, Dr. Daka and then Carla.
Yeah, I have a statement and a small question, but, I've served under 9 superintendents, and I know it's boring to hear this, but every year staff has to figure out how many kids are going to how many different programs and places. And we've made adjustments after September 30th. We've had to, because then students come back from their vacations or whatever, and we kind of know where they are. So when that adjustment is made in September 30th, staff that's been held back, and it's held back for a specific reason because we know we may need it after September 30th, and then there's a readjustment. When you add teachers to a school or you take teachers away from school, it causes consternation among the students and the teachers and the parents, but sometimes that has to be done. And when you're thinking about the summer program, and I know there have been some questions about that, in this whole area, first of all, there are not enough teachers in the whole United States. It's a shortage. And in this area, with the competing school systems looking for people for the summer, I think it's very difficult for staff to say, we're going to have regional or we're going to have separate programs at each school. And they work constantly on this. And towards the end, they're going to have to work like 24 hours to make sure that they get the programs in the right places and that they get the transportation if it's needed. So I don't know. I just have faith in the staff. I know that it's going to be last minute, that they can really give us definitive answers about summer school. And I know that we don't do the count until after the kids are back, September 30th. On slide number 6, grant changes and shifts. Now we're shifting the 2.0 pre-kindergarten teachers and the 2.25 paraeducators from the expansion grant to the blueprint for Maryland's future. Is it that we'll be able to do this in the future? Are you anticipating that we'll always be able to do this? And this is just 2 small groups of people. But when things are moved from grants, we have to support them. So are these small changes going to be able to be supported?
So if I may answer that, the reason we are shifting is because we got a decrease in the pre-kindergarten expansion grant. They're giving us a little bit of less money because they knew that we were getting the money from the governor, from the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. So like you stated, it is a small change, and I believe that we will be able to support it, especially if we continue to receive the funding from the state for the Blueprint for Maryland's Future.
Thank you.
Dr. Daka, you're on mute. Carla?
No, I said thank you. I was off.
Okay.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to just ask for additional detail. Each of the slides tells us we're going to have more psychologists, more of this, but how much are we getting? So if we could just get additional detail for each of those slides. And I just want to say that, listening to this PowerPoint has just been delightful. I mean, these are the supports that our students need. And they're just right on, I think. And so I'm really thrilled to see this budget be implemented in the coming years. And your attention to accountability, critical. Is it working? And in investing if it is working. So just delighted to see this, and thank you for your work.
Silvestri, we will make sure we get that to you, the specifics that the board requested.
Len, you can go ahead.
Thank you. One other question I have is on Tuesday, one of the consent items that we approved was for the initial outlay for the social emotional learning curriculum and instructional materials, the Leader in Me. Is that the time, the resources, the professional development to fully implement that across all 208 schools? Is that going to be accomplished in the 2.5-year plan without the need for additional funding to support it ongoing? Or is this sort of a down payment?
I can tackle that. So this is a down payment that we've made. It's critical to the points that have been made. The work group, which was an extensive work group, so the collective IQ and consciousness came together to say, this is what we feel this particular curriculum would be a good fit for Montgomery County Public Schools. And then we also don't do anything out of the can. So we're also going to tailor make it to meet the needs of the students in our classrooms and the staff members within our district. With all of those things in mind, we would like to watch that for a year. So we do have, and we've identified our cohort 1 schools. We have it as a 3 to 5 year plan for full implementation, but we've also been very upfront with the vendor about the needs, and we want to make sure that this curriculum meets the needs of our district. So within this year, we'll be doing quite a bit around the accountability piece, the metrics piece, the implementation piece, and then that application gap piece is going to be significant for us because we want to train our staff. And then we also want to make sure that they're doing it and doing it well within the classrooms and that we're supporting that. So all of that led us to a down payment on the curriculum as we make the adjustments as we go.
Is that K-12 curriculum?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. And then the second question I had goes back to Ms. Wolf's first question around tutoring and something that Ms. Hazel said. I know that during the pandemic, there have been several really powerful student groups who've stood up their own peer-to-peer tutoring programs. And one of them that I'm very familiar with is the Be Ready tutoring program that was started by 5 BCC students. And when you said, Ms. Hazel, that we're going to be coordinating with community partners on some of the tutoring, are we also acknowledging the powerful work that our students have done already to stand up these programs, the connections they've made with community, and the fact that for some of our students, they really do respond best to a peer when it comes to that tutoring need?
That's a great suggestion, and certainly we'll take that back to our committee to consider. We do have several students on that group, so I think that would definitely be something that we could entertain. Thank you for that suggestion.
Yeah, great. And I would just want to say too that when we're looking at the social emotional piece, like I said at Tuesday's board meeting, I really do look at our support for fine arts in the schools as a piece of the work that we're doing, not only around academics, but social emotional learning. I mean, we've seen all year long students tell us one of the ways that they've coped with the stress of this year was through their, music, performance, the creation of art in multiple media. And I hope that we are looking at that our arts education as integral to our not only academic work, but our social emotional work.
Yep, I agree with that, and thank you for raising it.
Does anyone have any further questions on this section? Okay, Dr. McKnight, I think you can continue.
Sure. So I am, right before I hand it over to Ms. Alfonso Windsor, and we can bring the slide presentation back up. We'll start back on slide 18. I just want to thank the board for just generally all the comments that you've made, all the feedback that you've given and the questions, because those have been things that have been able to help us guide not just what these priorities are, but the implementation of it as well. This was the final part of our presentation that we just presented, which was on the 2.5-year plan that gave just various information around the funding sources that we're going to use for all of these programs for 2022. The significant additional resources are going to be dedicated to the 2.5-year plan from ESSER 2 and ESSER 3. that will continue beyond the summer. And that's why I emphasize that the work that these groups have started will continue, because they will continue to look at what are the accountability pieces that we want to measure as it relates to the implementation of this. And based on what we learn from as we implement, what do we want to make adjustments on? And so those groups coming together continuously will continue to be a key for that. I also wanted to point out, in addition to the funding always has to be focused on the actual student need. And we will continue to be flexible because we can identify what we know about needs right now, but we're going to continue to learn about our student needs. And we should just all be clear on that as they come back into school buildings. And some of them, their first time returning will be in the fall. And so until they get into our spaces and we're able to lay eyes on them and really work with them in ways that we've done before, we'll learn more things than we know at this present time. And so with that, we'll just need to continue to be flexible. And that's why we have to come back and have this conversation and talk about what these programs are looking like. I also wanted to point out that ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 also allows us some flexibility in providing facility upgrades as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we're taking that into consideration because we want to think about how that fits into capital improvement programs that we were unable to fund this year. There's lots of discussion around the Build to Learn Act. And so we want to think about how that plays into capital improvement, but also how it plays into some of the result of operational things. And I'll use the example that came up at our board meeting the other night when our students were talking about the water filling stations, and how now I'm sure there's a sensitivity to that. To water fountains as a result of COVID-19. And so I want us to keep that in mind as we have flexibility in those areas as well. So I just wanted to point out those few facts that was important to share in this discussion. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Ms. Alfonso Windsor, who will now begin should close out by sharing the various funding sources that are supporting the operating budget overall.
Thank you, Dr. McKnight. So during this section, like Dr. McKnight just stated, we're going to go over some of the federal funding that we have received in response to the pandemic or will receive. And all that funding is listed in this slide. Between last spring, summer, and fall, MCPS received about $56 million from the CARES Act through several specific grants like the ESSER 1, the tutoring, the technology, et cetera. And most of that funding has been spent and has supported the work that was done during this fiscal year. We are also recently received approval for the $113 million from the CARES Act, and that is the ESSER 2 for $112 million and the Gear Competitive 2 that will support some of the human resources work. And we are expected to receive soon $252 million of ESSER 3 from the American Recovery Plan. Next slide, please. In here, you can see the ESSER 2 funding plans for the $112.2 million, and that is available until September of 2023, which is our fiscal year 2024. And like Dr. McKnight stated, it will support the 2.5-year plan. Some of that activities will be $19.4 million for summer school, $23 million for tutoring before, after school, and during the school day. And it will be, and is supplementing the funding that we put as part of the 2.5-year plan. $60 million for professional development for mental well-being and student engagement. $5 million for HVAC infrastructure and equipment. $5 million for COVID testing. $4.2 million for contractual services for tutoring, and again, is supplementing some of the local funding in a 2.5-year plan. $10.6 million to support the special education programs during summer school and tutoring. $20 million for technology for both remote and in-person learning. $3.9 million for supplies and materials, and $5.1 million for employee-related benefits on the part-time salaries that are associated with the activities listed in this above. Next slide, please. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the ESSER 3 funding, which we're expecting to receive $252.1 million. And it's available until September of 2024. So that takes us into the FY 2025 fiscal year. ESSER 3 has the same fifth and allowable uses as ESSER 2, including three allowances for facility-related expenses, as previously mentioned as well. And MSDE has indicated that we should probably receive the application within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And there will be new information and guidance that it was recently received from the U.S. Department of Education. And when we receive that, we will start developing the plan. And if you remember earlier, we did discuss some of the items that would be considered as part of the ESSER 3 funding. And at this time, I'll turn it back to Dr. McKnight.
All right, thank you so much, Yvonne. And Ms. Wolf, we have completed this presentation. I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, I see Ms. Madrowski.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. I really appreciate it. I will concur with some of the comments that were made by my colleagues. I didn't want to be repetitive, but the things like looking at the ESOL programs and stuff like that, I really appreciate. And I just think this whole conversation has been very good. I have a question specifically in this section, or I don't know if you want to say a question or more of a concern. Unless $5 million for COVID testing, unless that's required in order to get these funds, I don't understand why we would continue to do COVID testing beyond this school year. Frankly, I would like to see that $5 million be put towards things like building services, water filling stations. I think we got an estimate a couple years ago for between $1.1 and $2 million to ensure we've got 2 water filling stations in each of our schools. Sanitizing, the more we're able to sanitize and clean, the less we have to worry about things like COVID, the HVAC, things like that. And I just am curious why what's our thought process behind continuing COVID testing beyond the school year?
Ms. Windsor can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was allocated to the testing effort that we have implemented this past year. And those were the funds that were identified for that. So to your point, Mrs. Mondrowski, we're certainly working as we talk through what safety precautions are needed as we go forward. We, will determine exactly how we need to proceed with the testing, but those dollars related to our current year just past efforts.
Okay, so all of these budget items that are listed here, this is all paid back for stuff we're already doing, because we're not currently doing some of this stuff, right?
So if I may add, some of that funding, like Ms. McGuire stated, has been used this year. But let's keep in mind that the good thing about a grant is that we can reassess the needs. And if all those funds are not spent, let's say for COVID testing, we can submit an amendment to the state and repurpose those dollars if it is determined that the need is more needed, if there's more needs in other areas other than the COVID testing. So that's the great thing about all these grants, that as we go through and we reassess the needs, we can request amendments from the state to repurpose some of that funding.
Okay, I appreciate that, because I would have a very hard time raising my hand for any more money on testing beyond this school year. But thank you.
Are there any other questions? Ms. Harris.
Yeah, thank you. One thing, as I'm looking at the work that we'll be doing moving forward now, even into the FY25 fiscal year, to use the ESSER 2 and 3 funding and the ARP funding, are we looking at, and this I think goes back to one of Ms. O'Neill's points raised earlier about looking at our schools, school to school, comprehensively spacing, and any concerns that there might be that some of our classrooms can be quite crowded, as we're looking especially at younger students who will not be eligible for vaccinations for probably at least until we're halfway through the next academic year. we've been hearing from advocates and allies all along. We've been looking at best practices from school systems that have been open throughout the pandemic around creating outdoor classrooms and outdoor lunch spaces. So is this something that we are looking at as we're looking at using some of these funds, ESSER funds and ARP funds? Because we know not only is there so many benefits to using outdoor space when we can, and so many benefits to mental wellness, but also air quality. And I know that the advocates have been meeting with facilities and wondering how we are looking to support that really kind of best practice.
So certainly we are, as you pointed out, Ms. Harris, we are meeting regularly and have a little mini work group, I think we could call it, around the outdoor space questions. And I think there's really sort of two trains to look at it. There's certainly enlarging and increasing our sort of ability and thought processes around using outdoor spaces, as you're saying, when we can. And that's sort of, weather dependent and condition dependent and things like that. When it comes to trying to create a more permanent outdoor space that would be weather protected, that's where we certainly could look to the federal funds. That, again, obviously has a lot more sort of project and cost to it. And certainly we would look to the budget team around the eligibility for those materials. It is just, again, sort of a different set of questions when we talk about creating permanent outdoor space. In terms of increasing our capacity, that again, just is sort of a different train of conversation. So we're trying to keep the lines of communication and thought open on both fronts. And I do think that certainly it's more quickly available to have, again, those thought processes about how do we use our outdoor spaces when the conditions permit us to. And I know that my instructional and school-based colleagues have really helped us expand that conversation. But when it comes to sort of funding some of those other materials, we're in conversations with the budget office about that as well.
If I could just augment what Ms. McGuire discussed, the 3 additional uses of ESSER funding that were added for ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, it's been clear from MSDE's guidance to us that they need to be COVID-related facilities improvements. If we were facing the need to build a new high school because of enrollment, I don't believe that's something that would certainly be allowable under the funding. However, the things that Ms. Harris, you've mentioned would appear to be the things that was envisioned for this facility-related ESSER funding.
Thank you. And I think there are some really great models out there for creating all weather, all year outdoor classrooms. When we see them being used in South Dakota in the winter, we know the technology is there. And it seems like this is, and I would confess as to not being really fluent on the lifespan of some of those sort of outdoor classroom structures, but certainly some of this funding could go to developing infrastructure that will far outlast this 2.5-year COVID recovery period of time.
Are there any other comments or questions? Ms. O'Neill?
Well, given, the concerns throughout the COVID period, but even before COVID about the state of our HVAC systems, are we going to be able to have any additional HVAC? And I know prior, this fall, we did a lot of work on filters, et cetera. Are we going to be able to do any additional work this summer on HVAC? And we had the question the other day about water bottle filling stations, which the board had, passed on unanimously. We also had had a resolution some time ago about air conditioning of gyms. And I know that work had begun. Can we get the inventory of how many schools now have air-conditioned gyms, and also where we are, the state of the placement of water bottle filling stations? I was in an older middle school yesterday doing a sign-off on an addition project, and as we went by the water bottle filling station in the old part of the building, it was pointed out to me, and also that the main gym had been air conditioned. But, overall, I mean, is there any acceleration of this over this summer when, we typically do this work?
So as you're pointing out, Mrs. O'Neill, those are both areas where we've been making, I would say, slow but sure progress, with the water bottle filling stations. We are routinely putting in water bottle filling stations if we have to replace a fountain unit and it makes sense to put it there, right? So that is one way that we are incrementally increasing that. As you pointed out, we did not get necessarily that full batch of funding to go through and retrofit all our schools at once. And so we are going through and doing that incrementally as funds are available and as opportunities present themselves. As in terms of can we accelerate that? Certainly we can look at that within the context of PLAR and the other projects that we're doing. This summer is a little different from our project perspective in that we have tried to reduce to the extent possible our footprint in buildings to make room for the increased programming. So I think that this is a summer that is going to look a little different from a facility standpoint than it has. And I think that we will be circling back to that in the fall as we kind of regroup for projects that will continue. The HVAC work, we've really got multiple tracks for that. We did so much work this year, as you know, and as you pointed out, around the filters, but also around a lot of those system modifications, individual air units, the air handling units. A lot of that was accomplished during this year, and some of the funds that were highlighted there in the ESSER funds that Ms. Windsor went through, again, those are funds that went to work that we've conducted this year. Our HVAC project in the CIP is really more about the big system replacements, and as Mr. Clausing pointed out, we're not clear that that the ESSER funding would be allowable to put to those purposes because a system replacement is really more an infrastructure piece than a COVID piece. Nonetheless, we will continue to pursue with the state and the federal entities as much infrastructure use as we can for HVAC and for other purposes related to COVID. And if either the water or the HVAC purposes are eligible under those grant funds, we would love to take that opportunity to accelerate. So we will just, again, continue to look at that within the eligibility constraints that are there. And I think that, with the water, there may be more eligibility, not because of the water. I just want to reemphasize the water's fine, but really just, again, about sort of that proximity to having people drink from a fountain. I think that's really where that concern comes in. So that's where we would want to lean back into the filling stations through the funding, the grant funding, if it's eligible.
And just as a side note, I had a conversation with Mr. Adams at one point, and because advocates had been saying put up tents. Tents are not eligible for state funding under Maryland. Just to get that out there, is that correct?
That is correct. And when we look at creating structures, this is where certainly from a code standpoint, as well as you're pointing out, the funding standpoint, things do get complicated. Typically, if we want a semi-permanent space, we go to a portable. But nonetheless, again, there are opportunities there that we're going to continue conversations and pursue what might be possible. But no, state funding is not available for those types of structures, at least at this time.
Are there any other questions or comments? Well, I think this concludes our budget work session. I want to thank all of you for the excellent presentation today. I'm really excited to get back to some sense of normalcy starting this summer. So see you later.